There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Portrait of a Bush League Fuhrer named Peter Vollmer, a sparse little man who feeds off his self-delusions and finds himself perpetually hungry for want of greatness in his diet. And like some goose-stepping predecessors, he searches for something to explain his hunger and to rationalize why a world passes him by without saluting. The something he looks for and finds is in a sewer. In his own twisted and distorted lexicon, he calls it faith, strength, truth. But in just a moment, Peter Vollmer will ply his trade on another kind of corner, a strange intersection in a shadowland called the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and I'm joined by those two fellas you love to hate.
Hey, this is Bond in Texas.
This is 80s E in Indianapolis.
Fellas, we finally made it to season 4 a couple weeks ago, and here we are coming to the 4th episode, hour-long episodes of season 4. This one is titled He's Alive. And this is probably one of the most unsettling and, let's face it, openly political episodes of the Twilight Zone that we've watched so far. So when we say that this one's going to kind of be rough to talk about, and in light of today's events as well, just bear in mind we're trying to do the best we can by not keeping it political about today's society, although you can take some lessons from this and put it towards today's society, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, man. We talked about it a lot before we actually went on air, just, you know, what we were going to talk about and how we were going to talk about this episode without being too political, because we don't want to take sides. We don't want to influence anybody else's beliefs. We just want to talk about the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the ways that we can do that is to go inside the characters, go inside, Vollmer's character here in this episode. And like Jimbo already said, there a lot of times the Twilight Zone has themes and ideas and philosophical, political ideas even, and they sort of wrapped in metaphorical language, right, through a story. You know, what comes to mind is like The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. That's a great episode that's teaching you a lesson, or The Shelter and about human nature, and even some touching on, and Rod's not afraid to do that, and he's touching on political ideas. This one it just comes straight at you. There is no
from the get-go.
Yeah, there is no like metaphorical story that you're supposed to draw a conclusion from at the end. And there definitely aren't aliens or monsters like I texted you guys earlier this week. It's straight head on. He's giving his viewpoint, and we'll discover in the trivia. Me personally, I think it might have fit better if it was a theatrical release, which is what Rod wanted to do, but the idea kind of got shut down, and we'll learn a little bit more about that in the trivia. I think it probably would have been better suited maybe. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, I guess. Let's go ahead and launch in and let's learn about this Twilight Zone episode. It's season 4, as we've talked about. We're in episode 4. This one is entitled He's Alive, and it has an IMDb rating of 7.6. And it was directed by Stuart Rosenberg, and it was written by Rod Serling. Obviously, an important episode for him. The original air date for this episode was January the 24th, 1963. And it came in with a production cost of $105,000. Well, $105,315 to be exact. We had 3 dates of rehearsal for September 10th, 11th, and 12th of 1962. We had 6 days of filming in later September 1962. And let's come to our favorite segment as it pertains to January 24th, 1963. We'll talk about some historical events for that day in our segment. On this day in history. So, fellas, are you ready for On This Day in History?
Let's do it.
I'm gonna ask a lot of these in the form of a question, especially when we get to the birthday parts. Maybe that's a little bit more fun than just reading these off blindly. So on this day, January 24th, 1940, this was a film that was directed by John Ford, and it was based on John Steinbeck's novel of the same name, and it's a really famous movie. It starred Henry Fonda and Jane Darwell, and I think Jimbo has it in his Voodoo 1940.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Grapes of Wrath.
That's exactly
Ding,
what I
ding,
was
ding,
gonna
ding,
say.
ding. Very good. Man, you guys are good. I'll tell you what, I can't stump you for anything. January 24th, 1950, Jackie Robinson signs the highest contract in Dodgers history. So you guys want to take a stab at what the highest contract in dollars was in 1950? What do you think?
$23,000.
Close.
I will say 21.5.
Oh, both of you were under. $35,000 in 1950. Ooh. That's a lot of money. So 1984, on January the 24th, in good old 1984. Boy, 84 was a good year. There's a lot of stuff happened. The Olympics and on and on and on. Great movies in 84. But on January 24th, the Apple computer unveiled its revolutionary Macintosh personal computer. It actually was a Super Bowl ad, and it was directed by Ridley Scott. And so they rolled out the Macintosh personal computer January 24th, 1984, in the middle of the Super Bowl. Did either of you ever have a Macintosh computer?
I don't think so.
One of the originals?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, me neither. I wasn't wealthy like that. Only rich people.
I wonder how much those are worth today.
Oh man, I don't know.
People collect those old tech, you know?
Yeah.
If you have one of those original Macintosh, I bet you it's worth a fortune.
Yeah. So January the 24th, I bring this up. This is how you're going to like this segue. January the 24th, 2016, the TV drama X-Files returns after 13 years, reuniting lead actors David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, and it was produced again by Chris Carter. So they had like a reuniting episode in 2016, which leads us to the tragedy of cinema's own. Well, if we ever get to it, right, Jimbo? We've got a few episodes in the can of the X-Files season 1.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Maybe you have to be on Patreon to get those special episodes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
So that is in the works. I think we've got 6 or 9 episodes already recorded.
In the can.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Okay, birthdays. This person was born January 24th, 1917. He was an American Academy Award winning actor from the movie Marty, From Here to Eternity, McHale's Navy, The Poseidon Adventure, and he was born in Hamden, Connecticut. You guys have a guess who was born January 24th, 1917?
What's his name, Bond?
I'm going to say Ernest Borgnine.
Man, Bond, you are so good.
I couldn't think of his name. I seen his face from the Poseidon picture.
Exactly. I'll take Ernest Borgnine for 400, please, Alex.
Yeah.
That was my
Old
favorite
Fats.
novel.
Was his name Fats in From Here to Eternity when he got in that knife fight in the alley?
Oh, yeah, it was.
All right, here's another one. January 24th, 1943. And this person passed away tragically in 1969. She was an American actress. She didn't have a whole lot of work, a lot of credits. She was in The Valley of the Dolls. She was born in Dallas, Texas. And I think she was born to a famous director, Roman Polanski, this young lady.
Oh,
Tragic end to her life in 1969.
Give me Sharon Tate.
That is correct.
Good
job, Jimbo. Now, was she murdered by the Manson
was
family?
murdered by the Manson
family. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like, if that was confirmed. Okay. All right. January 24th, 1949. This person was born. He was an American comedian on SNL from 1975 to 1980. He was an actor. He played in Animal House and the Blues Brothers, and he was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1949. Died in 1982. Any
That's
guesses?
one John Belushi.
That is correct. All right. This person was born on January 24th, 1941. He's an American singer-songwriter of Sweet Caroline, I'm a Believer, Solitary Man. He was born in Brooklyn, New York City. He's still with us. He's 85 years old. Anybody?
Would that be the one and only?
Oh,
It's your turn. No, it's your turn.
Long pause.
Neil Diamond.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's Neil Diamond.
Now,
Caroline.
I understand that they made a movie. I think it's in the theaters now.
Yeah, jazz singer with Hugh Jackman.
Yes, that's correct. I need to go see that.
Now, do you know in that movie he doesn't play Neil Diamond? He plays Neil Diamond like a Neil Diamond impersonator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I understand. But I heard it was
crazy.
really good. Have you seen it already?
I haven't seen it now.
Okay. All right, this is the last one. January 24th, 1939. He was an American country, pop, and novelty singer-songwriter. Ahab the Rahab was one of his tunes. Everything is Beautiful and The Streak were a conglomeration of his tunes. He was born in Clarksdale, Georgia. He's 87 years old.
That would be one, Ray Stevens.
Wow, that's correct. No Weird Al this week. It's amazing.
Oh,
2 weeks in a row.
slacking.
Jimbo has more to add to this January 24th. Are you ready?
Yeah, go
What
ahead.
was Weird Al doing on January 24th?
Hey, Weird Al is on tour, though, this summer, guys. Are we going to go?
Indianapolis.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Road
All right,
trip.
here we go. Notable events in the music world.
Okay.
Songs and albums and recordings that have been released throughout history. In 2025,
Okay.
Tate McRae sports car came out. Anybody a fan of Tate McRae?
No.
Okay, let's
No,
move on.
sorry. That's
In 2019, Weezer, the Till album came out.
Weezer's still making stuff, huh?
And 2006, Josh Turner, Your Man. 1998, Oasis, All Around the World, topped the UK singles chart and became the longest UK #1 hit of all time.
Wonderwall.
The Spice Girls also reached #1 on the UK single charts with Too Much. You remember the Spice Girls?
Oh yeah. And that Oasis album was really good back in the late 90s.
Well, Oasis was the band.
Right.
Yeah. So in 1995, Van Halen, The Balance was released. 1987, Billy Vera and the Beaters at this moment hit #1 on the Billboard Top 100. 1983, Tears for Fears, Change was released. 1977, one George Harrison, Cracker Box Palace was released.
Was that a single that
I think so.
when he went out on his own?
Yeah. 1975, Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, You Got the Love was released.
Shaka Khan.
Nice.
Shaka Khan.
1967, The Monkees, A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit of You was recorded. And 1957, Elvis Presley, Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear was recorded. Also, #1 hits and chart milestones on January 24th. In 2009, Lady Gaga, Just Dance was the #1 digital song in the USA. In 2004, Outkast, Hey Ya, finished its 9th week at #1 on the Billboard Top 100. In 1999, The Offspring, Pretty Fly for a White Guy, hit #1 on the UK singles charts. 1981, John Lennon, Starting Over, entered its 5th and final week on #1. 1976, Diana Ross, theme from Mahogany, which was Do You Know Where You're Going To, hit #1. And in 1958, Elvis Presley, Jailhouse Rock was the first single to enter the UK charts at #1. And a couple more other notable events, and then I'll shut up. In 2018, Elton John announced his retirement tour.
Okay.
In 2005, Eric's favorite, Britney Spears album, Oops, I Did It Again.
Oh, that was a good one.
Diamond.
That was a good one.
Diamond.
In 1998, the Titanic soundtrack hit #1 in America.
Oh, brother.
And in 1962, Brian Epstein, not of the Epstein list or files, signed the Beatles. So there's just a little bit more to add to your on this day in history.
Epstein was like wasn't he like their manager or something?
I believe
Brian
so.
Epstein, yeah. So Celine Dion was mainly, she made up most of the.
Dude, how great of a singer is she, man?
What happened? Did she have something wrong with her vocal cords? Or
Yeah,
something?
I think she got sick.
There's a documentary, man. It's sad. If you want to watch it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
But she's like my favorite female singer of all time. I just think she's one of her and Whitney Houston.
Yeah, she was huge in the mid to late 90s.
I actually went and saw her when the Titanic, I think it was in 1998.
When the
Titanic went down?
Oh,
You were on the Titanic?
Me and my sister went. I had just bought tickets like that day, and we went and we were on the floor, and they're like, so I was like, well, they were like $60, right? And I was like, all right, well, you want to go? Yeah. So we went and we went in, and I was like, well, where are we? And they went bloop, bloop, and popped down 2 seats like on the front row. I was like,
wow. It was a good show.
It was awesome. I got pictures somewhere. A fantastic show.
Wow.
And of course, she did the Titanic song and all that stuff. So
that's cool. All right. Back to this.
Are you ready for a synopsis?
Yes. Give it to
our
us.
episode.
Yep.
I went a little bit deeper on this one, Eric, because I went through the whole episode kind of and just channeled my inner Jimbo in this one.
Okay.
So I hope I do you justice with this one. So he's alive. The story centers on Peter Vollmer, a bitter, unemployed young man in post-war America who is consumed by resentment and failure. Searching for someone to blame, Peter is drawn into neo-Nazi ideology, finding purpose and identity in hate. Isolated and desperate, he begins to hear the voice of an unseen mentor who encourages his beliefs and fuels his anger, promising him power and significance. Under this influence, Peter becomes increasingly fanatical, delivering fiery speeches and attempting to organize others around his extreme cause. His only real human connection is Ernst Gans, an elderly Jewish man who recognizes Peter's rage not as strength, but as fear and emptiness, and tries unsuccessfully to warn him away from the path he's chosen. The horrifying twist comes when Peter finally meets his mentor face to face and discovers it is none other than Adolf Hitler, or rather the embodiment of Hitler's ideology, revealing that hatred never truly dies. It merely waits for new hosts willing to give it life. When Peter realizes the full weight of what he's embraced, he breaks down, unable to escape the truth of what he has become. Rod Serling closes this episode with a blunt moral. Evil ideologies remain alive as long as they are believed, repeated, and acted upon. He's Alive stands out in the series for its direct warning against extremism and its reminder that history's darkest figures only survive when society allows them to.
That's a pretty good synopsis right there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bond, there's a rather large cast here. I don't know how much you wanted to bite off of it.
I picked off a couple of the big ones, right? Of course, we have Dennis Hopper as Peter Vollmer. Dennis Hopper was in Rebel Without a Cause, Giant, Cool Hand Luke, True Grit. Most people know him from probably Easy Rider.
Whoa, buddy. Whoa. We know him here in Indiana.
From, Apocalypse Now, Blue Velvet, but you know him because you're going to make him chunk it from the cheap seats. From Hoosiers.
All right, we're going to run the picket fence on him.
We're going to run the picket fence. We're going to make him chunk it from the cheap seats.
Foul! That's a foul!
I know everything there is to know about the greatest game ever invented.
He was also in Speed and Colors. Man, Dennis Hopper, man. How great of an actor is Dennis Hopper?
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a classic. We have Ludwig Donath as Ernst Gans. He's the older Jewish man that takes Vollmer in as a child, raises him, warns everyone, including Vollmer himself, about the danger of preaching hate, the danger of spreading hatred throughout the city. Ironically, he's known mostly for doing Hitler's voice in movies.
Right. I read that.
So even though he plays an old Jewish man in this one who warns you against Hitler, as I was doing research, a lot of his filmography is the voice of Hitler, the voice of Hitler. Like in movies like Margin of Error or The Moon is Down. He was actually famous for playing a lot of Germans in his acting roles. We have Kurt Conway as Adolf Hitler. And he was on the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. He was also a reoccurring character on a show called Peyton Place. And what do you guys think? Did you buy him as Hitler or not?
Well, I have a question. Do you think it was just? Do you think he played the voice and the actor, or do you think he voiced Hitler? Or because to me it sounded like Cary Grant trying to do Hitler. To me, the voiceover, because you don't see his face right until the end.
Right.
But I was just curious what you guys thought.
I don't know. I guess he was supposed to be playing an older Hitler. So
okay,
I think they could have got somebody who looked a little bit more like Hitler.
I probably got sidetracked with that whole Cary Grant voice thing. I don't know.
Cary Grant is Hitler. Cary Grant is Hitler.
It just went down to South America and got Hitler and let him do the part.
Oh, is that right?
I know.
He escaped America, right, on the submarine.
Yeah, he's right there on the shores of Argentina.
Dark Discoveries episode, you might hear that.
Yeah, we'll send you over to our other podcast, Dark Discoveries. You can learn all about that.
Well, we give you Hitler's address. We had Paul Mazursky as Frank. Now, Paul Mazursky, he goes on to become a director. So he directed the movie Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Oh, yeah.
And he also directed a Woody Allen movie called Scenes from a Mall that I kind of liked. No one else likes it, but I kind of like that movie. Howard Kane plays Nick. Poor Nick. He's in Hogan's Heroes. We have Bernard Fine as the heckler. Remember the guy who was like heckling poor Vollmer at the beginning? He was also in Hogan's Heroes, and he's in another Twilight Zone episode that I think you guys covered.
Okay.
He was in The Four of Us Are Dying.
Oh, yep. He had a good uppercut.
Season 1?
He had a good uppercut in this.
Or season 2, ain't it?
This episode.
Season 2? Okay. There's one more guy that I want to mention. He's an audience member. And I have to mention this guy. His name's Chet Brandenburg. Yeah, Chet Brandenburg. And the reason I mention him is because from 1924 to 1968, he was in 436 films.
Wow. Is he the one that's like in almost every Twilight Zone as like one of the...
Like a background character?
Like a taxi driver or...
Yeah.
This
436 films.
Chet Brandenburg, you say?
Yeah.
To look him up. That's interesting.
Chet Brandenburg, audience member, and as I was looking at all the doing all the research, and it said he was in 436 things, and I was like,
no kidding.
Like one a week.
Man.
He was in a different show every week for like 30, 40 years. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
But that's our main cast. I mean, it really focuses on, I would say, 3 characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have Nick and Frank and some of the other guys. Some of the people in the audience have a line or two, but usually it's just the main 3.
All right, let's launch into Act 1. Entitled the Act 1, the setup for it, I entitled it The Need to Be Seen. We see a dramatic purpose, and we establish the character of Peter Vollmer, and his emotional wound sort of crystallizes as we come together farther along in the episode, but he has ideological emptiness, and he has this inner kind of hunger for respect. Like he feels like he should be elevated, and he should be someone of consequence. So the opening scene is this street like rally scene. Vollmer preaches the neo-Nazi rhetoric on the street corner. He's laughed at, he's heckled, and he gets in a big fight right in the very beginning. And he gets punched out and hits the ground. His followers are very few in the beginning. They're disorganized and kind of unimpressive. And sort of a theme that's introduced in the episode is hatred as compensation for insignificance. So he wants this. He just hungers for respect. He wants to be important. He wants to be remembered. But Vollmer, he's sort of hiding. I often think, what would his followers thought? And Bond brought this idea up earlier about Hitler himself. But what do you think his followers, his staunch neo-Nazi followers, would have thought about him staying in the home of Ernest Gantz, who was a Holocaust survivor, right? He would probably lose all credibility, wouldn't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so. He was really preaching about being a victim. That he was that he and the people who listened to him and believed in him were victims of some sort of oppressed society.
Mm-hmm. And Bond brought this up earlier about, I'm just making this connection between Vollmer and Hitler. Hitler, he preached this Aryan race, this superhuman race, this blonde-haired, blue-eyed race that was going to take over the world, when he himself didn't match that description. It's kind of ironic. He brought that up.
Yeah,
earlier.
he didn't look like that, and he wasn't from Germany. I don't get it.
Right. So that's kind of Vollmer here, right? He lives with a Jewish elderly man who has really treated him like a son his whole life because his parents were not there for him. Yet he preaches hatred against the very person who was really his caretaker for many years. So that's where we find in kind of the second scene is he retreats to the modest home of Ernst Gantz, an elderly Jewish man. Ernst offers him shelter and food and compassion, but he at the same time he refuses to validate Vollmer's ideology. And I'm going to insert a clip here where Vollmer's talking to Ernst and trying to explain to him, hey, we're friends. Like, you've known me my whole life.
Can I stay here tonight?
Remains here for you as usual.
You're a good friend, Ernst. You're a good friend. A man does what he believes in.
A man usually does.
Well, I believe certain things.
Is that a fact?
Yes, well, what difference does it make if we don't think alike about the same things? I mean, we're friends. You've known me since I was a kid.
When you were a little kid, Peter, and I used to find you crying at my door late at night, I could pity you then.
And now?
What do you think?
So the ideology, Gantz just refuses to accept Vollmer's explanation for why he is the way he is. And we learn through this discussion that Ernst survived 9 years in Dachau. And Ernst diagnoses Vollmer's politics as this childish craving for respect, and that it's not really coming out of any conviction that he has, but it's just that he was neglected as a boy. And Ernst has compassion on him, and he sees him as that young man always, even though he's a grown man who's spewing hatred. He really really shows you what the heart of compassion and the mind of compassion, and trying to reach out and trying to pull him back in, but without success, really.
I think Vollmer's got a bitterness inside of him, and it's that bitterness that he feels the need to share with everyone else. It's because of his parents, because of his upbringing, him having to raise himself pretty much, being alone.
Yeah,
that's the bitterness that he holds inside, and unfortunately, he shares it with others.
Right, and so that begins to develop, and he not only sees Ernst as a friend, a close friend who takes care of him, but he sees him as a father figure. So I'm going to play this other clip.
Sleep on the couch.
Look, why don't you understand? You're like a father. You're the only thing in the world that I've ever loved. What have I ever had to love? What? A drunken father used to slam me against the wall. An old lady. who had no marbles in her head. She didn't even recognize me half the time. That's why I used to come here, because you were gentle with me, and you talked to me, and you fed me, and you took care of me. Ernst, you're my father.
That's the boy again speaking. The little boy with so much fear in him.
So they'll throw this out here. I think that Vollmer's hatred is not really rooted in truth of what he believes, but his anger and vitriol probably stems from the abandonment issue, right? His parents abandoning him. And so that
of course, he's fearful, and so when you're fearful, then you want to seek that power to control yourself and to control the world around you.
Yeah, makes sense. So shortly thereafter, we get the first appearance of the shadowy figure, right? That's kind of the inciting incident of the episode. Late night, Vollmer is visited by a mysterious, shadowy man that's kind of under the street lamp. Now, I want to ask you guys this question. Do you think that it's possible that Vollmer might have just dreamed this? Because you remember they have this conversation he has it with Ernst, and then Ernst tells him, go to bed, and he turns the light off. And then the next scene, you see him opening his eyes, and that's when he sees Hitler. You think it's a possibility that this could have just been in his subconscious and he was dreaming? I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Could be.
You mean like a Fight Club type thing?
Oh, that's a good comparison, yeah.
Where
Maybe.
It's just like another part of his personality that we get to see.
Yeah, or it's just
in some sort of physical form.
Yeah, maybe, or it was just a dream that he had that he met Hitler. I don't know. I just thought of that,
but he wasn't a very successful speech giver. He wasn't very good at the beginning of getting people to be on his side. You know what I mean? He was getting pushed around. He's getting heckled.
True.
By the crowd. He didn't really feed on the crowd's compassion until he talks to the shadow figure, who kind of teaches him how to get people and how to get the crowd on your side. No, you have to make them the victim. And you have to make them compassionate. You have to be one of them
and identify with them. Yeah,
identify with them before they'll follow you. And so he kind of gets like lessons from this shadow figure.
Yep, that's exactly right. The figure promises power and respect and an audience. And Vollmer, he listens. He's desperate. He's flattered that he's been chosen. And then sort of the turning point of Act 1 is Vollmer accepts the guidance from the shadow, choosing power over introspection. Then in Act 2, we launch in with the confrontation, and he has this dramatic rise, and it's sort of he rises up the ranks of popularity and importance, but he has a moral collapse in his own life. And the evil sort of fills the emptiness of that abandonment. And the shadowy figure comes back and tells Vollmer again, kind of what Bond outlined. He teaches him how to enthrall the crowd, and sort of his confidence, Vollmer's confidence grows. And then, one important thing too is like when they get into a scuffle about the owner of the hall where the speeches are given, they're behind on paying the rent. And so the shadowy figure pays their rent and keeps them in business. So without going to, you can see parallels in our world today. But
how does that work then? Because if he couldn't pay the rent, but yet the shadowy Hitler pays his rent for him, does that mean A, he's real?
That's
B,
a good point.
It's part of Vollmer's subconscious. So really Vollmer had the money, puts it away, and he's so deep into his psyche and his dual personality that he pays himself in essence.
You might have just destroyed my whole dream theory. Yeah, with that. That's a good point.
I'm just saying, because it's like,
no, I mean, that makes sense.
It's either part of his deep psyche where he hid the money from himself and is so delusional that he pays himself.
Yeah.
It can't be a ghost because ghosts don't have wallets.
Yeah, and the nature of this episode being a straightforward, in your face kind of episode, without, and that's not the only episode that doesn't, where Rod doesn't specifically mention the Twilight Zone at the end or in the intro. There's like, I think 3 episodes in total where he doesn't say the Twilight Zone by name, and this is one of them. So yeah, I think, yeah, that makes more sense, Bond, the way you explained it, that, yeah, the nature of the episode is this is a straightforward, this is reality in 1963. Yeah. So he has a benefactor, let's call him that. Hitler is his benefactor. Mm-hmm. And he brings these guys up to speed with the manager of the hall, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm doing this to make money." He kind of tells them, look, you got to pay, or you can't host anything in here. But then there's an important piece that comes next, and that piece is where the shadowy figure tells Vollmer that they need a martyr in their group, and this is kind of a key part of the episode, and that they need to arrange a death of a loyal follower and make it look like that person was a martyr for the cause. But they do the killing, but it's going to sort of unify the movement, but we got to make it look like the other guys did it. And Vollmer hesitates, but he obeys the shadowy figure's orders. And this is like a point of no return in the episode, right? He's going to kill one of his best friends, so to speak, a loyal person in the cause, in order to catapult themselves further. So after that, they have, rising influence. The attendance of the rallies grow. Vollmer basks in this admiration. You remember, like, he's on the stage and there's these fires burning beside him, and he's got the Third Reich's like top 3. I think they're like the top 3 in the Third Reich in order.
Big gigantic picture on the podium.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Ernst, though, we come back to him in our story. He realizes that Vollmer may truly succeed. He fears history repeating itself and another Holocaust born of wounded men. And he pleads. He stops a speech at a rally, right? And Ernst tells him, he storms the stage and he publicly denounces Vollmer, saying that he's nothing but a cheap copy of Hitler. And Vollmer, that's the little boy aspect again. When Ernst sort of shames him, he immediately kind of shrinks back and becomes that little boy again. You guys catch that, where he's like, "What are you doing? Don't say that." Mm-hmm. But you can tell that he respects him like a father. And so again, he's kind of emotionally shattered, and he sort of cowers like a scolded little boy would.
But get this, Eric, this is not the first time that Hitler used a martyr to advance the party, right? In October, in February 1930, Horst Weisel probably, mm-hmm. was a member of the Nazi Party who became a propaganda symbol for Nazi Germany following his murder by 2 members of the Communist Party of Germany. After his death, he was elevated to a martyr symbol of the Nazi Party. So this is not the first time in this episode that Hitler suggested we need a martyr. So it actually historically also happened.
Wow, that's interesting.
Maybe that's where Serling got it.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It's a tactic by, the Communist and Nazi Party to do that. Yeah. Yeah,
to create a martyr, somebody to rally behind.
I think we call it like a false flag in our terms today, kind of create a martyr in that way. So we have a turning point where Vollmer fails publicly, exposing, dependency and weakness. He's supposed to be made of steel, but he shows a real weakness here in that speech. And then that kind of transitions us into Act 3, the resolution, the cost of borrowed evil. We have the true source of evil, and Vollmer of his delusions. So we get this rebuke from the shadow. I thought this was kind of interesting too. The shadowy figure, he appears furious, and he tells Vollmer he will no longer instruct but only command. And Vollmer finally demands like the truth, and Vollmer gets really upset. Like, what do you mean you're just only going to instruct? You don't have boots on the ground here. Like, you don't have like a dog in the fight, you know. And then the Hitler figure says, you know, I've been doing this since you were in diapers, kind of thing. Like, this isn't my first rodeo.
I was creating wars and commanding armies before you were even born.
Right. And so this is the big, you can call it a twist. I could call it a revelation if you want, where Hitler steps out of the shadow and you see his face and everything. It's no longer a shadowy figure when he steps into the light. And then that sort of expresses that evil is not metaphorical, it's literal. And then we get the final order from Hitler, and that order is to kill Ernst. Vollmer must murder him. You know, there is some resistance by Vollmer, but I think he's so indoctrinated at this point, and he's so far down that he would do anything that the Hitler character tells him to do. So he obeys, and then he goes to the apartment, right? And Ernst dies at the hands of the man he tried to save, and pulls the gun on him and kills him in the apartment. You would think that Vollmer would feel some sort of contrition or regret, but he goes the other way. He starts like screaming that he's immortal and he's made of steel, and that he gets like this high from killing his father figure, which is really hard to it's jarring. And
he even mentions the fact, I think it's coming up next, where Hitler asked him, like, how did you feel when you killed, you know, was there any remorse? How did you feel? And Vollmer says, I felt immortal.
Yep, that's exactly what I have next. That's the next line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Hitler says, we are immortal. And then, but unfortunately, they're not immortal, because subsequent to that, there's an arrest that's made. The police arrive, and Vollmer is arrested for conspiracy to murder his friend, Nick Bloss. And Vollmer tries to flee, and he is shot, and he stares at his own blood. That's a pretty gripping scene at the end, where he's staring at the blood on his hand. It's like, this is not right. This is not supposed to happen. I'm made of steel. And then he dies alone, insignificant, and discarded. And then Hitler's shadow slips away, searching for a new voice, someone else to sort of take up the mantle of the cause of hate. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Jimbo, do you have any trivia on the other side, or do we?
I do.
Okay, take it away.
Well, you can only imagine the hate mail, the mail that Rod Serling got about this episode. I think they said something like 4,000 pieces. But here's one thing that I thought was very interesting. Let me see if you guys have found this in my cool little Twilight Zone companion by Mark Scott Zicree. Mm-hmm. I reference it a lot. This is like the original copy or whatever. So I value this. But so Herbert Hirschman recalls an interesting effects shot involving the main character. The director came up with this notion that while he was lying in bed with his eyes open, or after he woke up, you could see the swastika on the pupil of his eye.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it took a lot of work with the light and cut out swastika to project on the eye, and trying to get the camera in tight enough to see it. I remember having arguments with Stuart Rosenberg about whether it was worth the time and trouble, and whether it was proper emotionally, because I felt it was a trick, really, more than a natural part of the dramatics of the picture. Ultimately, the shot was not used. So I think it'd be cool still to see it if we could find a still of it or a cutting room floor of it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I looked for a swastika like through the whole episode. I kept looking in the background of flags and banners.
They never show the swastika. It's his own little symbol. You know that.
It's like a torch with a lightning bolt through it.
Yeah, I have that trivia right here. It says a number of concerns at CBS was addressed in the form of a list of suggested revisions for the censorship, and production crew was instructed not to feature any Nazi swastikas on the program. The symbol was replaced with a hand holding a torch, much like a symbol for the Olympics, and a lightning bolt behind the torch. So, yeah, you good eye on both of you guys because, yeah, it's not shown. Anything else, Jimbo?
That's all I found that was
Okay.
of interest. So,
Well, according to Rod, he considered this episode the subject of Nazism and National Socialism to be one of the most important of the series. So he really he put a lot of thought and time and effort into this episode. We already talked about Howard Kane. He would go on to play in Hogan's Heroes. Tell me what you guys think about this. Rod apparently was not happy with the final version of the episode, as some of the scenes he considered crucial were not included. He then suggested to producer Herbert Hirschman that they produce two versions of the episode, one for the series and a much longer version as a theatrical release, but his request was rejected. So I see this kind of as a movie of the week. Remember those on made-for-TV movies that will come on Sunday nights that were like an hour and a half long? I don't know. I think it probably would have done.
That's a genius idea. Imagine if a television show today did that, where you would have episodes, but then you'd have either extended episodes or deeper episodes available through theatrical release. So you could like go to the movies and watch an in-depth episode of your favorite TV shows.
Yeah, that's kind of what I get. Maybe not even made for TV, but he wanted an actual movie.
They did that with Stranger Things, the finale. They actually had people, they sold it for the movie theater. You could go watch the final episode. So.
Right.
Yeah, the only other one I could think of is what Downton Abbey would have that, right? They would have television shows, and then all of a sudden they'd have like a Downton Abbey movie in between seasons or something. Or
that was such a great show too. Eric, have you ever seen any of that?
No, I haven't.
You would love it. Bon, did you like it?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's really good. But they did that. They released it with them like a movie. They like intertwined movies and the TV show together.
I think there's like 3 movies now too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I found this interesting. Hard to believe, really. Rod, he admitted during a 1971 Q&A that he disliked Dennis Hopper's performance. Yep. He claimed that Hopper's performance was uncontrolled and undisciplined, and that in that stage of his career, he hadn't acquired the talent to deliver the performance his script demanded, which was much to the episode's detriment, which I was kind of surprised at that. I don't have any experience.
I thought he did a great job. I mean,
I kind of did too.
He was always sweaty, but other than that.
Yeah, but you got to realize once a director has a certain look they're going for, a writer has a certain thing in their head that's what they want to see portrayed on the screen. Right. And you don't get that, then it's going to be a letdown.
Yeah, maybe no one's going to be able to live up to that. Because
expectations. Right?
Yeah, I thought he was.
Have made a bigger impact if the actor looked a little bit like Hitler. Straight black hair, maybe
a mustache,
maybe not even a little, just a thin mustache. Where you're like, oh, he kind of looks. I mean, or as the episode progressed, if he started looking more like Hitler.
That's what I wanted to see.
So it's like his hair was combed one way. Yeah, his hair was combed one way, but by the end of the episode, his hair's combed over like Hitler.
I see.
Or his mustache gets thinner in certain areas where it starts to look like a Hitler mustache.
Okay.
No.
I don't understand the uncontrolled and undisciplined part of his critique, but I mean, what do I do? It seemed pretty good to me. Maybe a little bit emotional over the top where he was, crying, but I think that's just a result of the young boy coming out in him in that relationship that he had with her.
Yeah, but Sterling worked with what's his name from Star Trek, So
Shatner.
Yeah, if he worked with Shatner, that's overacting. I mean,
he worked with the kid from The Sign, or The Gift. Sorry, but
The Gift. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, Sterling didn't direct this, so Sterling,
wrote it,
handed it off, and then it's like, oh, this is what we got. So
it wasn't what he envisioned.
Right.
Yeah. Just one or two more things. Unlike many TV shows and movies of the era, this episode uses 2 actual pieces of U.S. currency, not stage money. So those were actual $100 bills that were given in the episode. And already talked about the swastikas, and that's pretty much all I have as far as trivia. Just a thematic closure. This is just kind of my review. I'll just throw it all in together right now. Evil does not need originality, only empty people. Now, this is one thing, I don't know, you guys have some pushback on this or not, but I recognize in this episode, the theme of the episode is like a bullet cannot kill an idea. That was one of the themes brought out in the dialogue. But I wasn't a big fan of the notion as that Hitler is this eternal boogeyman waiting around every corner. And he's just sort of waiting to inject his ideology into the next person. I think that kind of gives him too much power, in my opinion, and that each person's responsible for the consequences of their own actions and beliefs. If you accept those ideologies and beliefs and you act on them, then of course you're going to have consequences for those things. But you can't sort of blame Hitler as this boogeyman out there for everything. I guess, does that make sense? I guess.
Yeah, Hitler made me do it.
Well,
right.
What I would have liked to see, because I really like the ending scene where it shows Hitler walking in the shadows, right? And Rod's talking about, a year after year, time after time, the evil still there. What I would have liked to see is as Hitler's walking, it starts portraying different shadows of really evil men in the past.
Okay.
That stood out. Like, let's say Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's say, and it would go all the way back to like Satan or something. You know what I mean? Just so that evil progressed throughout time. I think that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that would have been. So I'm just going to go. That's sort of a one paragraph review, or maybe 2 sentences. I would say, in short, he's alive is the philosophical warning. And if you've seen the movie American History X, that is the brutal, realistic consequence of.
Was that you watching it on my video?
I was, yeah, because there.
It popped up. I continue watching.
Yeah, I was like, there's so many parallels to that movie in this episode. I was like, I gotta watch it again, because I remember watching it in the late '90s. I remember I went over to a friend's house and they had it on, and I think it was at the beginning of the movie where like the curb stomping scene, if you're familiar with the movie, and I was totally jarred. Like, dude, what are you watching? This is in the swastika on Edward Norton's chest, and he's, I was just like, what is this movie? And I just remember being really jarred by it as, I was probably like 21 or something, 22. And that's kind of the same theme for this episode. It's jarring when you watch it a little bit. It really makes you think, which is one of the things that I do like about the Twilight Zone. It's a 7.6 in IMDb's eyes. I'm going to give it a 7. Just because of the fact it won't land very highly at the end of the season, but it does the thing that I like the Twilight Zone to do, which is to cause you to think philosophically, go back, examine your beliefs, examine everything that you think that you believe, and it causes you to rethink some things and solidify some things in your mind. So
Eric did watch your prop piece.
Come back to me on that. Again, I always forget that. You guys go ahead and give your reviews. Okay.
All right. So what really got me thinking about this episode, and I'm trying not to be too political here, so I'm going to have to watch how I word this, but the one scene that got me where Hitler's talking about, well, we need a martyr, right? And my mind started going to Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of stuff we do not know about his assassination. Was it his own people that martyred him to further the cause? Was it just
a good question?
Right. So that's where my mind was going as I was watching this. Now, for as far as this movie, you got to remember this was only, what was this, 1964?
63.
Is that when this was? So
yeah, 63. Yeah.
You're like 15, 20 years away from World War II at this point. That's not very far. It was closer to World War II than we are to 9/11 right now.
True.
And us three were talking off air. Some people, remember, never forget, we're all standing on the steps of Congress singing God Bless the USA. And what happened? We forgot. We have forgotten. And I always come back to that. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say this. So we go back to this episode, and when I first was talking to Bond about it, I was like, man, this episode is just a lot of dialogue. I mean, it is all dialogue pretty much, heavy. Right? Mm-hmm. And I really don't like dialogue episodes, but I like this episode, and I don't know why, because I think it gets your brain, like Eric said, thinking about things, thinking about the past and thinking about the future all at the same time. And the evil of the past is still the evil today and will still be the evil in the future, just in different forms. And how we as society react in each of those generations determines how it's going to come back in the future. For me, Dennis Hopper was kind of over the top in this, but I understand why. I didn't really like his acting in this, but I understand why he acted the way he did because of this. He was a grown-up kid is what he was, because he didn't have the love. He didn't have the support. He didn't have the emotional connection to his parents. He didn't have proper guidance. And all he had was this one guy who had survived the horrors of war, the very things that he is trying to stand up and get together as a community here in America, or wherever, I believe it's in America. And yet he can't see right in front of his face the guy that took him in and the stuff that he went through that he's trying to teach him all along. So I say that to say this: young people, old people, whatever, listen to some people that have been around longer than you. They have seen something like this before. I guarantee it. And what was wrong with Dennis Hopper is the peer pressure got to him, right? And he's like, oh, great speech. And they're all patting him on the back. His pride. I mean, his pride was swelling. Like I could take on the world, right? Pat him on the back. Hey, attaboy. And when the, what was the elderly man's name? I can't remember his name in this.
Ernst.
Yeah, Ernst. When he goes into that meeting and he stands up there and he gives that speech behind that podium, and he's like, I've seen all this before. I know what this is about. I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And then he walks down that middle aisle. That's powerful, man. That's powerful.
He did his best to try to save him, but just couldn't do it.
And he just wouldn't listen. But the old guy knew this because he's seen it before.
Yeah.
And when he walked out, and he's having that, remember when he's having that talk with that bartender or the guy, that's such a good scene right there. He's like, look, if you haven't seen this episode, watch it because it will make you think.
Yep.
For me, I'm going to give this episode an 8. And I think I want to do that because I like history, right? I'm part German. And I like learning about World War II. And I did a research paper on Hitler in college called Adolf Hitler, Hero or Zero, right? To the Germans, he was a hero. To everybody else, he was a zero, right? Mm-hmm. And I might be related to him somewhere down through the pipeline. So I wanted to make sure we covered. I saw I'm 50% Cherokee, 50% German. Yeah, definitely. This is worth your time to definitely watch, and not just watch, but think about things that are going on now, things that have happened in the past. Think about 9/11. Think about all this, and just think about it, because that's, it reminds me of one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time, is 12 Angry Men. And if you haven't seen 12 Angry Men, Fonda is sitting in, it's about jurors that are all sitting in this thing, and they're all like, oh, well, he's guilty, let's just, and you have to have a unanimous vote. They're like, well, he's guilty. And then they open this one, it's like, not guilty. They're like, okay, who did the not guilty? And he's like, it was me. He's like, I just want to talk about it, because by talking, you can see different viewpoints of other people. And that's the problem we have, is we don't listen to other people. We just want to talk. If you're talking all the time, you're not listening. And that's exactly what happened to the main character in this episode. He was talking a lot, but not listening. So I give it an 8. And my prop piece, gentlemen, if you will, I want those 2 sticks that were on the side of the podium shooting the flames, because I want it right here by my desk. So
the little torches at all time burning beside you.
Yeah, the never-ending torches or whatever they were. All right, Bob,
That's awesome.
over to you.
Well, you mentioned the scene that I was going to mention. That's the barroom scene. That barroom scene is some great acting. The Ernst, when he's telling his buddy, you know, we've heard this speech 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. We've seen this all before. We know how this ends. We did nothing back then. We laughed. Everyone laughed until one other day we woke up and no one was laughing anymore. Mm. And it was a great scene. Now, I think we are going to mention this at the end of the season. When we're doing our awards, I think Ernst and his performance is going to be right up there with some of the best performances for when we get to best supporting characters. Mm-hmm. I think his performance might be mentioned.
Yeah.
I also think that this one might be mentioned for the lighting, because like you're saying, with the torches, the way they always uplit, whenever Hopper was giving a speech, they would uplight his face and you would see the shadows. And so the more powerful he got and the bigger following he got, the lighting changed to follow his speeches. I thought the way they filmed that was amazing. It was really good. It was really good stuff.
Yeah.
I struggled with the Hitler part because it wasn't a twist. The first time you saw him in the shadows, you go, that's Hitler.
Yeah, right.
And so when they do the big reveal at the end of let's say a 60-year-old Hitler, or oh yeah, that's Hitler 15 years after the war, you're like, yeah, I know it was Hitler. I knew the first time he opened his mouth and started talking, it was Hitler. So that being said, that kind of took away. But you know what I love? This one did have a monster in it, because the scariest monster is man.
Good point.
It's not Bigfoot. It's not a grizzly bear or an alien. The scariest monster is man, because they're real. And this episode makes you think, because this could really happen. Is this happening? Mm-hmm. You can even ask yourself, is this happening now? Mm-hmm. And if so, what side am I going to be on? What side is the right side of history? Like Jimbo was mentioning, when you look back at history, are you going to look back at today or look back at this year and think, wow, remember 2025? Mm-hmm. Where were you when history was playing itself out in 2025? And I don't know. It's impossible to guess. It's something only time will tell. I give this episode a solid 7. Dennis Hopper's performance was okay. I mean, it wasn't great. Like I said, he was so sweaty sometimes that it bothered me. It distracted me. So I was like, why is he the only one sweating? I mean, is it because he's like between two torches all the time?
Oh, yeah.
He's hot, he's perspiring. But I think Ernst saves the show. I think Ernst saves the episode. My prop piece, of course, is going to be $200
Oh,
you only get $100. You can only take one of them.
No, I'm taking the envelope full of money.
No, you just get the envelope.
The empty envelope.
My prop
was the gigantic Adolf Hitler poster. That was
the one that's right behind him now.
Oh wow.
It's Michael Jordan, dude.
Michael Jordan. Never mind.
He did have a Hitler mustache at one time and did a Hanes commercial, if you remember. Everybody gave him grief about it. No, my prop piece, it's outside of the episode, so I guess it's not technically a prop piece, but it is by way of trivia. Apparently, our own homegrown Indianapolis Star wrote an editorial piece about this episode, and I can't find it anywhere digitally online. So ChatGPT suggested that I go to like the library or whatever and try to go through like old school, like physical copies from 1963. Well, apparently it upset Rod so much that he wrote a rebuttal to the editorial. And I guess it was like kind of a heated exchange there. I was somewhere I think in 1963, later in the year. But I came across that and read a little piece of trivia about that. And I was like, man, that'd be interesting to read that Indianapolis Star article and, the editorial. And I guess Rod accused them of basically like protecting the philosophy and ideology of white supremacy. You got to remember that Martinsville, Indiana is like the birthplace of the KKK. So go back to 1963 and you can only imagine the political persuasions of people that lived here. So anyway, with all that said, I'd like to read that article if I can.
Yeah, I think that's a great
get my
piece.
hands on it.
I'm going to allow it. That's pretty good.
Okay, thanks. So you guys want to hear a preview of next week's episode entitled Mute?
If we have to. If it's mute, then we don't need
If it's mute, I thought you already played it.
And cut. All right, here we go.
The talented author Richard Matheson pays a return visit to Twilight Zone with a story called Mute. It provides an exceptional challenge to the acting talents of Barbara Baxley, Frank Overton, and an unusual 12-year-old by the name of Ann Gillian.
Is she burned?
She's alive. Are you all right?
She's in shock, Harry. Bad off. Can't talk, can't cry, can't do nothing.
She's not burned, though. How could she get out of that house without being burned?
Don't push, children. Be careful. Be careful. I want you to know you're not fooling me for one moment. I know exactly what you are. I know because my father tried to force me into the same thing when I was your age.
All right, stay tuned to next week. Jimbo?
All right. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Twilight Zone. We try not to get too politically correct or religious on the podcast. Everybody's entitled to their own belief and their own political views. But like we say, pay attention to what's going on around you and help teach somebody. But if you like what you heard or you have your own theories or thoughts about this episode, Bond, where can they reach us at?
Hey, man, you can always reach us out on Facebook. We posted a couple times today already. So we're posting all the time on Facebook. You can always write us, email us at tragedyofcinema@gmail.com.
The tragedyofcinema@gmail.com.
Okay, that'll get there too.
Somebody's probably getting all this mail because Bob said it wrong every time.
Dear the tragedyofcinema.com. Please stop sending me.
All right. Until next time, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And
cut.
Where will he go next? This phantom from another time, this resurrected ghost of a previous nightmare. Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Florida, Vincennes, Indiana, Syracuse, New York. Any place, every place. Where there's hate, where there's prejudice, where there's bigotry. He's alive. He's alive so long as these evils exist. Remember that when he comes to your town. Remember it when you hear his voice speaking out through others. Remember it when you hear a name called, a minority attacked, any blind, unreasoning assault on a people or any human being. He's alive because through these things, we keep him alive.